I'm Mark Levin. This is Life, Liberty, and Levin. Welcome. Happy Hanukkah to my Jewish friends and my non-Jewish friends, all Levinites out there. Thank you. This is a very important show tonight. I hope you'll stick with us throughout. Peter Schweitzer is our guest. He is the #1 expert on the Biden crime family and so much corruption that goes on in Washington. He's a real journalist, author, investigator. We've had him on the program before, and now it's time to bring him back. But before we get into that, some context. The Democrat Party and the media are destroying this country. I really believe it started with the Obama presidency. The divisiveness we have in this country is really those of us who believe in the flag and believe in the national anthem and defend the Declaration and the Constitution, who are proud of our history with certain exceptions, like in any other country. But we're proud of our forefathers. They are not. They're in a constant state of transition. They don't support the Constitution, they'll tell you that. They reject the Declaration of Independence, their progressive forebears did. They reject capitalism. They want power in Washington, D.C. They want power in the hands of a relative few, centralization of government. This is all alien to the American system. We embrace Americanism. They embrace all kinds of other isms, democratic socialism. But it's a very serious situation that we're in today. Look at this election. You have people saying they don't have any legal cases. You have courts ducking left and right. The Democrats went into these states with a plan. The plan was to destroy the safety and security measures in virtually every state, but particularly the battleground states. What they did in Pennsylvania is a disgrace through a rogue Supreme Court. They eliminated signature requirements, postal date requirements, extended voting periods. In other words, those safeguards that were in place in Pennsylvania for decades were removed. Now, why would the Democrats want to remove them? To institutionalize corruption and fraud, that's why. They did the same thing in Georgia when the Secretary of State entered into a consent decree with Stacey Abrams, who is a leftist, who wants to destroy all Republicans, weakening the signature requirement, which had an enormous effect in Georgia. And you can go through the various states and you can see that the Democrat Party, the Biden campaign and their lawyers, state by state, went into these areas for the purpose not of strengthening the vote, strengthening safety, to ensure that people who are voting should be voting, but the opposite. Now, why would a political party do that? Why would a political party want to eliminate the safeguards to the franchise? The reason is to institutionalize fraud. A few months ago, votes that are counted in Pennsylvania and Georgia, based on these changes, would have been thrown out. They would have been fraud. And there's other things that have taken place. So that's why there's litigation taking place. That's why people are trying to figure out what happened here. And that's why people like me are not going to just give up and roll over for the rest of time when they turn the whole country into California, where Republicans can't win anything statewide. That's what's at stake. And they've told us this. Chuck Schumer says if we win the Senate, if we take 2 seats in Georgia, it'll be 50-50, and we'll have Kamala Harris, they argue, as the president pro tem of the Senate who will break all the tie votes. 50-51. They want to change America. If they take the presidency, if they hold a slim lead in the House, and they have a 1 vote with the vice president in the Senate, they intend to fundamentally alter our constitutional system by destroying our judiciary, destroying the Senate, destroying the legislative process with the filibuster rule, and once and for all destroying our voting system. This is who they are. This is alien to our constitutional system. So now we have Joe Biden. For 50 years, Joe Biden was in Washington, D.C. For 50 years, he was a liar. He started out as a plagiarist in college. He's lied his way through the Senate every step of the way. He was buddies with segregationists when he thought that would help. Then he embraces democratic socialism when he thinks that would help. All along the way, the man's become enormously wealthy on a senator's salary. Nobody knows how. He just has. Now, the answer is this. They're corrupt. The entire family's corrupt. The media knew it. The media covered up for Joe Biden, just as the media went after Donald Trump. The media and the Democrat Party, they went after Donald Trump with a phony impeachment. They tried a coup. They tried a criminal investigation. They've tried to smear him every step of the way. And yet, look at all of his massive accomplishments. The Obama administration used the FBI in ways the FBI has never been used before to spy on the Trump campaign. They lied to a FISA court to get a warrant to spy subsequent on the Trump administration. You can see the Hillary Clinton campaign working with the Obama administration, poured money into a system that hired a Russian spy to write this dossier that was phony. There was never Russia collusion. When depositions were taken of top officials in the Obama administration, when they became public, not a single one of them believed there was Russian collusion. So for three and a half years, this went on and on and on. And one of the leading hacks of the whole movement, we now know, Eric Swalwell, was in fact a sucker, a guy who was targeted by the Chinese communists. Here's a guy who won't even say if he had an affair with her, which means he obviously did. You have Dianne Feinstein. For 20 years, there was a communist Chinese spy on her staff, but there was no problem with that. And we can go on and on and on. The Bidens, in my view, are up to their eyeballs with the communist Chinese. And so Hunter Biden's under investigation, criminal investigation now. Tax fraud and potential SEC fraud. Investigations involving his dealings with communist China, the Ukraine and Romania. Now, the only reason we know this is because it's after the election. After the election, they don't much care, apparently. But it's not just Hunter Biden. It's Joe Biden's brother, Joe Biden's sister, and it's Joe Biden. Joe Biden. Now, if we were Democrats, if we were in the media today, we've been calling for an impeachment committee to be impaneled, right? There's so much corruption here with the Biden family, with the media, with the Democrat Party, so much power-hungry, ends justifies the mean activity going on in this country, that it is frightening. And so I wanted to bring Peter Schweitzer on so we could dig more deeply into this, what I call the Biden mob family, really. And Joe Biden is on top of it. And the idea that Joe Biden didn't know what his son was doing, didn't know what his brother was doing, didn't know what other family members were doing. And we have testimony. We have an individual who's come forward and said, wait a minute, I met with Joe Biden for an hour. He knows what's going on. He was to get a percentage of the action that was going to take place with respect to China.